Hi guys, and welcome to Blossom with Dr. Nancy. This September, being Suicide Prevention Month, we are focusing on suicide awareness and prevention. And when we talk about suicide, this is where someone has a thought and an intent to end their life or to kill themselves. Generally, when people are going through stressful situations, they may have a thought once in a while by saying, this life is too hard, this situation I'm going through, this crisis is too difficult for me to deal with. And a thought may cross their mind that they may want to end their life. But there are people who continue having those thoughts over and over, and they start ruminating on that thought, especially when the stressful situations continue. So they think that to end the stress or to end the psychological, emotional stress that they may be going through, it is okay to end their life. This is a global phenomenon where you find this tragedy everywhere across the world and affecting everybody, regardless of their socio-economic status. We have seen celebrities dying by suicide. We know there are young people dying by suicide. We have seen reports even in our own country. There are people who are doing well in their life, but they will still have to end their life by suicide because of probably what they could be going through. According to World Health Organization, about 800,000 people end their life by suicide annually. That is a worrying statistic. It is important for everybody to be aware so that we can know how to prevent suicide. What would be the reasons why people want to end their life? We know naturally people will be asking, your life seems to be together, when people talk about having a thought to end their life. So the response by family members or friends would be, why would you want to end your life? You have everything going on for you. But there are a lot of underlying issues that people go through that cause a lot of psychological stress that would make them want to end their life. What people are actually doing, they are not ending their life, they are ending their pain. What I have had in therapy is that I am in this sort of darkness that I have tried so hard to get myself out of. My pain is so much, either because of the chronic illness or because of a loss they are going through in their life, but because of trying so hard to fix things in their lives and nothing seems to be working. So the helplessness, the hopelessness, and the despair, and sometimes even people just feeling worthless. So that's an inner working or an inner underlying issues that people are dealing with. So that is what they are ending. They are actually not ending their life, because it is their life that is intertwined with this pain, with this helplessness, with this worthlessness, with this despair. And according to them, when they end this life, the worthlessness and the despair goes. But I want to speak to somebody who could be having a suicide thought, who could be thinking to end their pain or to end what they could be going through is really ending their life. There is hope, and ending your life is not going to be a solution. When we talk about suicide, there are various things besides the worthlessness that I have talked about. There are people who could have gone through psychological, emotional distress. There are people who may have mental illness that is not even known. So they could be dealing with depression, which causes a lot of despair and hopelessness. There are people who may have other mental health issues such as bipolar, schizophrenia, and one that is not normally talked about a lot, insomnia. People who have stayed for long without sleeping well. And when people are not sleeping well at night, they don't think about good things. They don't ruminate on the positives in their life. They constantly keep thinking about the negative things. So they ruminate on them over and over again, and they're not seeing a solution in sight in their mind. And you can imagine somebody who is only doing 2 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep every day for about a year. that would actually predispose them to thinking of ending their life because they're not getting any solutions. Other issues could be domestic violence, traumatic experiences like sexual abuse that would predispose people to feeling like this life is not worth it, and especially where we have abuse happening within family settings. So these are things, as we talk about this, so that we can be careful, we can reach out when we know people have gone through these issues, that we would want to know what's going on with them. Have they resolved them? Would they need to talk to somebody so that then they may not get to this point of feeling they do not want to be here, they do not want to continue with their lives. Interestingly, men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide and more than women. And the reasons are that men will not seek help quickly, even when they have physical conditions. When they require to see a medical doctor, they are not willing to do that. So they will also not talk about their issues, even amongst themselves. They are likely not to go to a therapist or a counselor. Oh my goodness, men will shy away from even thinking they can take their problems to a therapist. This is what we call toxic masculinity, because at the end of the day, you're suffering, you're an emotional being, and you could be having an emotional problem that you need to talk about. Probably you have taken loans, especially in this season of COVID-19, the business is not doing well, your marriage is not doing well, maybe you're also being battered at home. These are things you take to a therapist or take to your religious leader, talk about them, or even a friend that you could confide in. But because of the nature of men not willing to come out, they get really bogged down by these issues and they can end up thinking of ending their life. When we look at women, they actually seem to have protective factors, such as being nurturant by nature. So you find that a woman may have a thought of ending their life, but because they are pregnant or they have young children, they start thinking, yes, I would want to end my life, but what would happen to my children? Who am I going to leave them with? Who will take care of them? So that becomes a nice protective factor for the ladies. Another one is that they are social. They talk a lot. They meet amongst their friends. They will call their friend and talk about what they are going through. They are also willing to seek help very quickly. In therapy, we actually have more women coming into therapy for different issues, for their children and other things other than men. Men, I also need to say, are quite impulsive in the way they may do certain things, and especially if they are under the influence of something like alcohol or drugs. So they are likely, if they are really affected by issues that they are not able to deal with in their life, that the influence of something, be very impulsive and think, this is a solution to my problems. For young people around 15 to 19 years, suicide has been known to be among the leading cause of their death. And one of the things is because for the young people, their identity issues really affect them around that age. The self-esteem issues are also quite major. And also, we are looking at the competition in schools. And then when we come to the family level, the family and the parents are appreciating this teenager in terms of how they perform. They are compared to other siblings or compared to their neighbor friends, and they are constantly being asked, why can't you be like so-and-so? Parents, please listen here. We need to be careful about comparing our young people, because we need to take them as who they are and support them. Image, I mean, look at the social media. Everybody wants to look good. Everybody will post photos of themselves happy and looking very nice. And the way we define beauty for young girls and masculinity for the boys. All these things will affect this age of 15 to 19 years. Their image, their identity, their performance, and as parents and as society, we need to know how to handle them. Besides their natural physical issue, the biological issue of dealing with the changes of transitioning from childhood to adulthood. We know it's a turbulent stage for them, so they are dealing with those hormonal issues, emotional issues. So when we have all these other issues, they are likely to really be bogged down. They are likely to go down emotionally. And some of them could also be going through depression and anxiety, like we said there on earlier. So what do we do when we talk about preventing suicide? Once we know that anyone can be affected, we need to do this collaboratively as a family, as a community. And when we talk about community, we are looking at media, we are looking at the religious community, we are looking at the education sector, right from kindergarten all the way to college level. There are things that need to be put in place. At the workplaces, there are structures that need to be put in place on how we can prevent suicide. And as we continue to talk about this, look out for our next episode that will give us more details on how to prevent suicide at the individual level and at the community level. Thank you.